we took a rest week or a gap week because we are moving into an actual series. For those that don't know, I am Bree or Brianna.
I am Nelly.
Two
Hi.
N's, two L's.
Two L's, important.
I think that's so funny. We were just like she had posted on her Instagram a funny little story about her name, and mine is so relatable. I don't know if you want to share yours.
Yeah, my mom, when I was born, the paperwork was processed differently back then. It was through the church, and I got baptized, and then they sent the papers to, the government or whatever. But my mom left it. The priest wrote my name with one L, and my mom left it like that. But I grew up with, writing my name with two L's my entire lives. And so every time I had to do like a driver's license or anything like that, there was always issues. Once I was denied a driver's license renewal because there was one L extra that I signed. Or anyways, it's a long story, but I wish my mom would have fixed that, because right now I don't want to deal with it.
I don't know if I can hear you in the headphones. I want to bring it a little closer and see. Just
Hello?
okay. Sorry. So you were talking about your two L's.
Yes, and so my name is really Nelly 2L. That's how, I write my name since I was born. What about you, Ray?
So for me, it was so funny because I was married and we were working on getting our marriage certificate. But in order to do so, I had to go get my birth certificate. So I was born in El Dorado County. I didn't have a copy. My mom didn't have a copy. So I drove to El Dorado County to get my birth certificate. And I'm reading it, and it says Brianna, but like with one N. On my driver's license, there's two N's. I've always spelled it with two N's, Brianna. And so I call my mom, and I'm freaking out because
Because
this
of
is like
one letter.
Yeah, it's like a whole identity crisis. I'm like, Mom,
Who am I?
I'm like, my name only has one N, And she was just like, because I was born in the 80s. She's like, the nurse spelled it wrong. I'm like, Mom, no, like, as a mother, like that. My name has two N's. I gave my daughter a name with two N's. So I'm Brianna. She's Roxana. Like, my name has so much more, like,
A meaning.
meaning. And she was just, like, so nonchalant. So I'm like, I need to call someone else who gets this. So I call my sister. My sister's like, I totally get it, Brie. She's like, it's like you're missing a pinky toe. You feel off balance. I'm like, someone who gets me. So yeah, that's so funny. And then you said Natalie chimed in. What was?
Yes, Natalie. I didn't go into details with her, but she said she had the same issues. And then I think 3 or 4 other people on Instagram reached out to me and said they had the same issue.
That is so funny. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who has their name misspelled. Like yours is on your birth certificate too, right?
Yeah. It's my birth certificate. No, actually, my birth certificate has one L.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
That's why it makes everything so hard. It made everything so much harder back in Canada because when I would try to get my driver's license renewal, I didn't want one L on it. I wanted 2, but they refused.
I want the 2.
They refused. I'm like, that's how I sign my name. That's my name. Like, you have to go and make an official change to your name.
That's so crazy because no one my entire life has ever caught it, not even DMV.
No, in the beginning, I didn't have issues. It's growing up to like being an adult and having to do paperwork like a driver's license and passports. So when I did my process to become to have my green card, I tried to add 2 L's and see if it would go, but no, it's one L. And so now in the United States, I have Nelly Nelly stuck with me. My passport back in Canada was 2 L's.
Oh wow!
And my passport in the United States is 1 L, and so
it gets messy. Like people don't understand that, and then it's just so funny because everything is in a name, and I actually go by my middle name. I don't even go by my first name. So like, we can even go into that. Like my mom named me, I don't really disclose my first name, but
why not?
I don't like it.
I don't like my second name, my middle name. I hate it.
Okay, my first name's Ashley,
That's cute.
and I don't look like an
It's common though.
It's common, but she named me Ashley Brianna because it's an A-B thing. So she's like, alphabetically, it flows better, but like I never had an intention on calling you Ashley because Brianna Ashley didn't go.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, it's an A-B because of, alphabet, and then my last name's a G, so it's A-B-G. So it flows with an alphabet.
I like it.
But she's like, never had any intention on calling me by my first name. So I've always gone by my middle name, and then I find out that even the name I go by is still wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's just been so confusing. And
Yeah.
then, for roll call when I was a kid, is Ashley here? And I never went by that. So I'm just like, and Ashley's absent all the time, but I'm like, no, it's Brianna. Like, so I have had issues with my name forever,
Same.
like you, right? It's like,
Same.
but so we are jumping into a series. We did take a break this past week, and we're jumping into a Metamorphosis series, kind of like talking about us. I mean, you guys have had microdoses of our past and our histories and who we are as people, and we're going to kind of unfold that a little bit more as we get into this Metamorphosis series. Metamorphosis, jumping into spring, butterfly coming out of the cocoon, and I think we're going to start with
Hope. There's hope.
yeah.
I've been through pretty traumatic experiences in my life.
Yeah.
That's behind me, but back then I never thought that I would be here right now. And it's crazy how life unfolds, and you like everything you go through is meant to take you somewhere. It's like a puzzle. It's
Ooh,
like
I got goosebumps.
okay, and right, yeah.
Ooh, I'll just share a little story because this doesn't have to do with our series, but I never knew. I was in the room when Lyric was born, my nephew. So for those that don't know, my sister, she had cancer. She had passed away coming up on 5 years. And I was in the delivery room when Lyric was born, and I cut the umbilical cord. And I never knew that in that moment it would have been so significant to where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I raised Lyric part-time. His dad's totally involved. We, very amicable. We do 1 week on, 1 week off. But that moment, I had no idea the magnitude it had, So like what you're saying is like, you never know, like little bits and pieces will all connect,
Right.
God definitely has a plan, and it's so crazy. Like you look and you don't take any moment for granted,
No,
and
I truly believe that everything happens for a reason.
yeah, even like past experiences, it like,
And when something kind of bad happens to me, I always ask God, okay, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to teach me? Where are you taking me with this?
right.
I trust, I have all my trust in God, and I know that everything is happening for a purpose and a reason. It's hard sometimes, because in the moment you go through a lot of sufferings. It's hard to picture yourself happy at some point in your life. It's completely
Right.
dark. I remember, I think just last year, I told my friends, my boyfriend, like, when I look at my future, I see nothing. That was last year. When I
Wow.
think about my future, I see nothing. I had no idea what was gonna unfold in my life, what was gonna happen, where I was supposed to go. But I just chose to live day by day. And then I started feeling better and better and more hopeful and confident about my future and working, on that. I wasn't just
Yeah.
sitting and not doing anything. I worked towards a goal to get me where I am right now.
I mean, at least you have drive though. And I think for us both, like we're both faith-based women, and I wasn't always like that. I was like very metaphysical, and throughout the course of time, my faith has actually gotten stronger, and just knowing that there is a bigger purpose. Like I feel like lately, life's been hard,
Yeah.
and I'm asking for guidance every single day. Like there is a reason for the season, and right now, I think I'm being taught like humbleness, you know, because I feel like there's some big things on the horizon for you too. I see it. Like when you just said like you didn't see a future last year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I see big things. And I've always been super intuitive.
Same.
Like super intuitive.
Same, but I let my feelings get in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
My mind.
Well, we're both water signs too, so our feelings run deep.
Their emotions
right?
runs deep.
Runs deep. I'm a Pisces.
I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah. I have my birthday tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing shit.
It's Pisces season already.
It's Pisces season. Yeah. I'm on prep. I can't do anything. I'm just going to be super honest. I almost cheated and got sushi last night.
Really?
Well, with the family, I was like, okay, so I've been on prep, I guess you could say, like, coming up on a month, but, like, you know how it is the first couple weeks. It's more like...
adjusting. Getting used
to it and, like, making little micro changes, like, okay, no more extra peanut butter, no more, or it's okay to have the cookie. Well, so when she actually said no girl prep is like now I just cut you 200 calories. I'm like, oh, dang. It was a day after Valentine's Day. So I'll be honest, on Valentine's Day, I said, don't buy me chocolate. He bought me chocolate, dark chocolate. No one in the house likes dark chocolate. Cashew butter. No one in the house likes cashew butter. So he bought me this dark chocolate cashew butter bar and I fucking ate the whole thing. And then he bought me a second one. So I ate that. So I ate a whole bar and a half. And I was like, all right, because tomorrow... no cheats, and I haven't cheated since. And I almost did last night because on Josh days, today's Thursday, and on Wednesdays I train hard with Josh. I mean,
leg day.
Oh, so you had asked. You're like, are you sore? Because I'm probably walking like.
I asked because I am too.
Oh my gosh, he kicks my ass and. We were on the hack squat. He loves that damn hack. And I get anxiety going in to train with him.
I love the hack squat.
My heart races. I wake up early because I'm like, dreading it. And then afterwards, you just feel so good, you know? And I talked to another gal that was like coming in after me. And she's like, how's your morning? I'm like, I didn't die. And she's like, I get anxiety too before I train with him. I'm like, I'm not the only one. Because like, you kind of get like, you just never know what he's going to put you through. It's so freaking hard. But back to our metamorphosis and like things that we've gone through, I feel like that's, again, we have had very tragic pasts,
Yeah. To go into a little bit more into detail, it was about 15 years ago. I was going through domestic abuse. And it was very, very, very violent. I almost died from it. It lasted about 18 months. And, I never thought I would be that woman that stays in relationships like that. But there's, when you have very, very low self-esteem and you don't think you deserve anything good in life, you will tolerate a lot. Yeah. And as far as tolerating, I was... beaten, kicked, broken ribs, broken nose, almost drowned in a bathtub. Oh my gosh. Punched in the face while I woke up from it. My family went through a very, very hard time because I had bruises all over my body all the time. And so I would wear long sleeves, and every time I would go to my mom's house, she would lift up my sleeve, show me. And then they would get super mad, and then they would try to confront him to no avail because I never left him. I would stay because he brainwashed me completely. Yeah. And then the threats, like, I'm going to kill your family, your dad, if you leave me and all that stuff, But when you're in deep, and I was younger, I was naive. I believed it, And he also ruined me financially. I got bankrupt. I had no food to eat. He would take my money. If I didn't give it to him, he would beat me.
Did you guys live together?
Yes, and I paid for everything.
And this is before kids?
This is before my kids, yes. Thank God I didn't have kids with them. And so my mom would try to sneak me some food. Every time I would go visit her, she would give me some food. It was very, very traumatic. I saw a therapist for 2 years after that. I I was losing chunks of my hair. I was balding in
Oh,
spots of my
wow.
skull. The doctor said that you're going through a lot of stress right now, but I wasn't open about what's going on. You
You were
know,
keeping
I
it
wouldn't. Yeah,
inside and
I had even tried that guy. Even tried to call the cops on me for trying to defend myself, and he was so good at
narcissist.
manipulating and switching words that the cops thought that I was the abuser. And at that time, I was like, okay, so what's the point of speaking up? You know, like
Because they're not going to believe
they
you.
won't even believe me. You know, and like he would just every time I had something new, like a phone or I remember I had this cute little phone. It was the flip.
Oh,
It was horizontal
that
though.
sidekick.
I don't remember what it was called. I loved it. I had it 2 days, and I was driving, and he grabbed it for some random argument that he would bring up because he was very jealous. You know,
Yeah.
possessive. He just there was like a cup of McDonald's with Coke in it, and he just looked at me. He's like, dropped it. Here goes my phone. Like 2 days, and he also kicked me out of my own car on the freeway, dropped me off, took off, came back 10 minutes to pick me up. My life was constantly like this. And so I did, back in at that time, I didn't think I deserved anything better.
Yeah.
And little, and I don't regret going through that phase because, like we said, the puzzle that brought me to another situation that brought me there, and then here I am. You know, everything happens for a reason. Everything connects. If I hadn't gone
Yeah.
through that, I wouldn't have met that person. I wouldn't have met that, you know, and I wouldn't be here.
And you
That's
wouldn't have your kids today, and you
exactly.
wouldn't know how to raise like a strong daughter. Roxy, that's my daughter. Her and I were recently talking because I had Roxy young. I was, what, 21. I didn't get to celebrate my 21st birthday. But even like with that being said, I was never a partier. So I wasn't really missing out. And I was like really excited to have her. But her dad was abusive. And it took me getting pregnant for that switch to go off in my brain. Like, because we were together a long time. We were high school sweethearts, and we were actually like friends on the not on the playground. But he was 11, I was 12 years old when we met, so we were friends and best friends. And so, in high school we started dating, but in high school you kind of change, and he was getting into drugs, and that was like my hard no for. I've never done, coke or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. I've always had like really, really set boundaries just because my parents had done more than enough for me to ever want to do it. So I was like, in high school, I think it was meth. It had to have been meth. And I would be at work, and he would be like stalking me at work. He would call my work excessively. And my boss was like, if he doesn't stop, like, you could possibly get fired. Like, he would call, I worked at Rubio's, call like a psycho. And this is my boss, who is a male, but he would get jealous over everybody. And there was one time in the office, I had plucked his eyebrows, my boss's eyebrows. He was such a metro, probably, and I'm like, you got to like stop. I'm a loyal person. You need to stop calling. You need to stop. Like, I'm going to lose my job. Anyways, Roxy had just asked like about all the times that he was physical with me. The first time he was physical with me was actually, have never shared this, but it was on my high school graduation.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I look back at those pictures, and like,
Before or after on that
it
day?
was before I graduated.
Oh my God.
So I was like in tears on my graduation and had to suck it up, like with a smile on my face.
But you know what? That's what they do. When something good happens to
Yeah.
you, they will ruin it on purpose. That happened to me a lot
Yeah.
with that guy.
On purpose. And it's like, so I had this great job. And
Example, my phone was brand new, broke it. Anything that was new or exciting for you, they would break it
So,
emotionally, physically.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had gotten, this is after the first attack, but like there was another time I had to get tail lights for my car. So I had gone up to Craig Auto Parts and I had just gotten a brand new phone. And it was, I think it was like one of the first speaker phones that ever came out. That's how old we are. So
Did you just call me old? I'm not 40 yet.
not yet. But you know, like when they came out with speaker phones, because I grew up in an era where we had Nokias. So I went from a Nokia to the brand new, I think it was like a Motorola speakerphone.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I had it in my purse. I have no idea. And I think he had called and he heard the man at Craig Auto Parts. So I think it answered. And so it's in my purse, probably muffled. So by the time I get home, he had come over to my house and went apeshit on me. Took my phone, like broke it on my foot. I still have a scar on my foot from it shattering on my foot.
It's crazy how similar the stories. Domestic abuse are,
Yeah.
the broken phones. And there's so many things.
And I'm honest with my daughter. Like, I mean, she's 19 now, but he had, that night that he was stalking me at work, I drove to his house because I'm like,
But you guys weren't together when he was stalking you, right?
we were together.
So why was he stalking you?
Because
Just
he was on meth and just in his head, like
making up
yeah,
stuff?
like he probably didn't. I don't know if he didn't believe I was I don't know, but I'm like, you are so jealous. It has to stop. So I went and confronted him, and he's hiding in the bushes. And then he comes out, picks me up. No, he threw a tall can at me. So I had this huge, like, tall can, like, welt on my thigh.
God.
Then he picks me up and body slams me down on the ground. I'm like, so I tolerated this behavior. And I started kind of like getting tired of it when I was out of high school. I'm in school, and I'm in school for aesthetics, and you can't have your phone on you. You know, you can't answer your phone. He would call like a crazy person. So he didn't want me going to school.
Of course not.
He didn't want me to better myself. And I'm like, I'm not the person, like, I don't care how crazy of a person like I've been with. I don't let them control me. There was another time
You're stronger than me. I was very weak. I couldn't think for
I'm
myself.
a fighter. Like, I'll hit you back. You want to like throw hands? Like, don't.
That's why I thought that when I was in the middle of it, that I was gonna die, because I didn't think I would ever have the strength to leave. I was just so weak.
There was one time he was choking me out. We're like really getting deep, and he's like, I hate the fact that I can't control you.
My God, this is honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was so scary. And it was just, I'll never go through that again. But it took me having my daughter to realize, like, I don't want my daughter to be in this.
And so after you asked Roxy,
she was 9 months when I left him. There was an explosion. I actually thought that he was going to hurt her. And that was like, I got to get out.
So you left mostly because we were trying to protect her.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I left and I never looked back. And, you know, throughout the course of time, like, he's put me through the trenches. He put Roxy through the trenches. I actually, for the first time, and I blocked him finally just last week.
And that was it? Oh, wow.
I'm just done. I think I'm just done with, like, people. I blocked him just because I'm like, I don't want to engage with you anymore. Like,
you don't bring anything positive in my life.
No. And, you know, he's like on this righteous path. Like, he was doing drugs during the time my sister had cancer. So he was on meth. He was homeless. I don't share this with anybody. But, you know, I feel like this is the year for us both as, like, far as, like, metamorphosis. It's like to release, let it go. And I'm done, like, hiding people's shit for them, for the sake of them.
Right.
Because all of this has caused me to be as strong as I am, raise my kids, how, like, I want them to be strong little soldiers, you know, and not to take shit. Like, you know, I caught Roxy, not caught. She was really kind of tiptoeing around her dad for the sake of his mental health. And I'm like, no, your mental health comes first. You need to be upfront with your father, you know. And she finally found her voice, but I didn't find mine until the past few years. And she's 19, and I want her to be strong, and don't let the fear of someone else's mental health affect you.
Yeah.
Don't be strong for them.
Right.
So kind of like took my own advice. I'm like, I'm going to block him. Like, I don't need him, you know? Like,
No, you don't.
I've always tried to save face for the fact that, like, you are my daughter's father. Like, I'll never keep her from you. But I'm not doing it anymore.
And so me, how it ended, actually, it was pretty messed up. It was Father's Day. And all my family, cousins, everyone gathered together at my aunt's house for like a big party outside. This in the backyard, the barbecue and all. And I wanted to go. And of course, I can't take him with me because my family hates him. They know he beats me. And so I tried to go, and he kept me from leaving. He blocked the door. You're not going anywhere. Like, he was jealous of my love for my father. Literally.
Wow.
He didn't want me to go spend time with my father on Father's Day. And so I got beat up, but I made an escape. I went out through the hallway, down the stairs, locked myself in the car right on time, and then I just left. And then I got to my aunt's house, and I was all bruised up on my face. I went there, my family's like, Nelly, we're calling the cops, we're calling the ambulance, it's over. And I said, for the first time, I said, okay, do it. The ambulance came. They're talking me through it, asking me questions, the cops too. And I ended up going to the hospital and having a bunch of tests done. And they confirmed that I have a fractured rib. My nose was also fractured. I needed to.
Don't cry.
I needed to be fixed. I also had I forgot what it's called, but it was in my skull.
Not like a concussion.
Concussion.
Or was it?
And that I had been punched so close to my eye that the doctor said, I'm very surprised that you're still alive from all what I'm seeing from the test. And also that you didn't lose your vision from your left eye because it was very close to some kind of nerve or whatever. And at that time, I was like, okay, I want to live. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. I was done. And so the worst had to happen for me to realize that this wasn't for me. And after that, I get home, my family's there, we're talking, and my family wants me to, like, get in better spirits.
Yeah.
And since I had no money because of him, I couldn't have money. My money was I was working for him. And my aunt said, Nelly, we're going to send you to Portugal for a month. And so I went to visit my family in Portugal for a month. It was the best.
And you healed and
best time of my life. And then that trip was life-changing because I, for once, was feeling happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like getting out of that toxicity and knowing like that's not normal, you know?
This is what happiness looks like. It's dipping your toes in the ocean and not having to worry if you're going to get beat up if you come home.
And it's like, I feel like people who have a higher calling go through the trenches. Like, something I've always said is like, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Yeah.
You know? And to come out, like, he wouldn't even let me go to the gym. And if I went to the gym, who you trying to hit on? Like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah. I couldn't have friends at all. I lost my friends back then, which is kind of sad because I wish my friends back then would have understood a little bit, Yeah. No, I can't hang out with you because if I do, I'm going to get beat up when I come home. And so, but then again, I was so weak. I could have been like, okay, I don't want to deal with this, but I didn't because my self-esteem was so low back then. It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
That's like one thing. Like, I had called my best friend before he broke the phone. I mean, I'm calling, I'm screaming. She can hear it. So the phone breaks. I guess she kept calling. She drove over.
Oh, yeah.
She saw him drag me into my house. I live with my parents.
That's a friend.
And she came over and she's like, she cussed him out, and we're still friends to this day. And
That is a friend. The friends will stick by you during hard times. They won't just stop
we're all
talking to
scrappers
you.
though. Like,
Yeah, they won't just stop talking to you because you can't hang out on Friday night for
yeah,
drinks. You know what I mean?
no,
Yeah. And so this guy tried to contact me a lot after I came back from Portugal, and that trip completely changed my mindset.
I'm
Like,
so glad.
I
Yeah.
got a taste of happiness. I don't deserve this.
No, not at
No,
all.
at all.
Like narcissists, ooh,
What was that?
probably in the other room. Yeah, narcissists, they just try to isolate you.
Yeah,
And
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I almost lost my job. I worked for I was a mail worker, so I delivered mail, walked a
Oh.
lot, and there was many times that I would call in sick because I couldn't breathe. He kicked me on my
poor
rib
thing.
or had this, but I wasn't telling anyone what
Yeah.
was going on. And so I kept having to meet up with the supervisors about my attendance, but I wouldn't tell them until one day I told one of the union workers, look, the reason why I am not, my attendance is not good is because I'm being beat up at home and I don't know what to do. And so he's like, okay, Nelly, I got your back. We're going to talk to your boss, whatever. Anyways, after I left him that Father's Day thing situation, I went to see my doctor. My doctor was like, okay, I'm going to put you on leave.
Oh, good. Okay.
That leave was 2 year long.
So it
And so,
protected you.
but I had to go see a therapist regularly, which was really amazing because I really needed to talk to someone about all of this. Um, I had to get back to, I have to show up at work with my notice to give the supervisor that I wasn't going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
I remember there was like 3 bosses, and I was so glad they were all there because I wanted them to know that, you know, my attendance was because of what
you're
I
a
was going
flake
through
and-
behind the curtain. No one knew. I showed up over there. They're all talking. And when they saw me, it went completely silence. I had like,
because they saw your face.
oh yeah, I was all bruised up. And I gave them the note, and they're like, all they said was like, Nelly, I really hope you take care of yourself. That was it. Yeah.
And here you are, you know, like a warrior.
Yeah, and I don't have a hard time talking about this anymore. I used to back then, you know, but I always wanted to almost write a book about what I wanted, what I went through. I always wanted to talk about this openly, and the podcast is a great opportunity.
I know. I the only reason why I don't like, I mean, I share it with like my close friends, but you know, with my daughter watching potentially or her friends, like I really try to be careful over other people and their situations. Like even with my mom, you know, she tunes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if I'm open and honest, she'll be offended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I recently blocked my mother too. And I don't know what happened. Like, something in me, I've never been like that person to block people. And I'm like, am I just this older lady who's just blocking? Like, you're getting blocked and you're getting, no.
You had all your reasons too.
I'm just done. Like, I text my mom because she just attacked me for no reason. And I'm like, what did I do to warrant this? And I told her, I'm like, I'm tired of you attacking me. You have been verbally abusive since I was a kid. I'm done. Like, I don't have to tolerate it. And I'm done fighting because I'm a fighter. I fight back, whether it's with my words. I don't put you down. I put you in your place. I don't go below the belt, but like with my mom, and I told my dad, like, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And, you know, with her being an alcoholic, it makes it so difficult, you know, and she, in her mind, thinks that like she can't forget, you know, but I don't know if like, oh, well, you know, she was drinking. So is that an excuse to be unkind? Like, when she's vile, she's mean. So actually just yesterday I messaged her. I'm like, I'm taking you out of cyber jail. You know, can you be nice? Because we are coming up on my sister's 5-year memorial. we, because of COVID, couldn't do a funeral for my sister. And then we tried to plan one again. And I guess like the funeral home was backed up a year later. So time and sports. And so now it's been 5 years. We're finally planning it. And I'm going to have dialogue with my mom in order for this to, because we're doing it in 2 weeks. So I'm taking her out of cyber jail, but after the memorial in a couple weeks, I don't know what our relationship holds because I'm not doing it, even with my mom.
Fortunately, some relationships are meant to be kept at a distance.
Yeah.
Love them from afar.
It's sad because it's like, that's my mother.
Yeah.
And I love her, but I just can't do it. And like my heart can't do it. I'm like, I just want positive people. And I know life happens. There's shit that's going to happen. Like you were saying, when you were driving in here, like you almost got in a car accident. Shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
I understand that. But if there's things that you can control and set boundaries, like even with your parents or, for you, your ex-husband, and like, I don't want that kind of energy in my life right now. I just can't do it. My heart can't do it. It's like, you've gone through a lot your whole life. I've gone through a lot, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, I surrender.
So let's make peace with the past and look forward to our future, and whatever we need to get out of our way, let's do it. Because I don't have any patience anymore. But I do know one thing is that not one man is ever going to lay his hands on me again.
Ever. Because I even had a boyfriend, and he was starting to get abusive too. And he threw a big, huge thing of protein at the back of my head. I'm like,
no.
So he didn't get physically abusive, but it started. And it was like years into the relationship. So I cut that clean too. And that was before I had gotten married. And that's a whole other story. But, I'm with you, like ever, like never again.
Yeah.
Setting the bar and setting standards, right? Setting standards for yourself. And,
there are situations with my kid's father where, he was under the alcohol influence and he got a little too much, punching walls and stuff and yelling. And I would find myself, my body would kind of like, it's kind of as if it remembered, it's tensing up. And sometimes I would just start crying and, yes, I'm completely healed, but I don't think I can tolerate violence like that anymore. It's if I see it, I will get very, very scared of it.
Well, I'm kind of like that too, because there was so much toxicity growing up for me, like my parents screaming and yelling and fighting. I mean, there was physical violence with them too. So like if I hear yelling, I do the same thing. And that's just like,
I don't like it.
A trauma response,
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like it. I can't do it. But I think part of our Metamorphosis series is, again, we say like, you're not alone. So if you have gone through something, like we've gone through it too. And not a lot of people speak on this.
Doesn't have to be domestic violence. It could be anything.
I mean, we've had so many people share stories with us throughout the course of time since we started this podcast, and people opening up to us and sending us DMs. And I think it's a beautiful thing because kind of like we're used to shoveling things and burying it deep down inside and not sharing. And part of the healing journey is letting it out, I mean, I can talk about my past with my daughter's dad, and it doesn't shake me anymore. I don't have like...
You made peace with it.
I made peace with it, yeah. But, with Roxy asking recently, she asks questions and she wants to know, and, why did you tolerate it? I guess it's because I loved him. I don't know.
We don't even
Didn't know my worth.
When you're going through it, you don't know what's happening inside of you.
Yeah.
Like they manipulate you, control you, and so I don't know what happens. This switch in your brain that you start believing everything they say.
Well, and you feel like there's no escape either.
There's also a trauma bond that is being reinforced between the both by it is caused by low highs and lows in the relationship. So basically, for a relationship to last, abusive relationship to last long, there has to be highs, and so sometimes there will be very good moments, and so that's like it's reinforcement. When you go to low phases, they will purposely like, oh, bring you flowers or cook you dinner, and then you're like, you get the good feelings again, and then so you stay.
So you're like, oh, things
It's
are good.
constantly
it's gonna
like
change.
that.
I also think like, with her dad and I, because we had that friendship as kids, I understood him. And I've told her that too. I'm like, I know exactly why he's done X, Y, and Z. Like, I know why he got into drugs. He got into drugs because when he was a kid, he broke his femur. He was on a morphine drip at the age of like 10. So, I mean, the big pharma kind of created an addict at a young age. He had a morphine drip in his house. And he got addicted to that at a young age. So then it's like you get into high school, you're exposed to drugs. And, oh, I remember that feeling. So he came from a toxic family, and I can psychoanalyze and understand. And so it's like, oh, I understand that compassionate part. Like, I know why he's acting like this. Like,
This guy I dated, he was actually sober. He was just very crazy.
Oh, shoot.
Completely sober.
Really?
He smoked some weed here and there, but no heavy drugs at all. He didn't even drink alcohol, rarely. And so he was just nuts. But I saw, I was around his family. His dad wasn't any better.
Oh, shoot.
The way he would talk about women, how he would treat women, and them being separated, and the mom also being a little crazy. And so you would see, like, he didn't grow up in a loving, healthy family.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But my parents were together. They fought here and there. But
that's normal.
They had love for each other. The family was huge. We always stuck together. I had the best childhood a kid could ever possibly dream of.
Aw, I love that.
And so I did have that. I did come from a healthy family.
That's so good. That was like when I went to my grandparents. It was like that was our safe space. And it was so loving. Like my grandmother, she was just...
Yeah. I remember my grandma raised me until she passed away. I was 10 years old. And to this day, I think about her. She changed.
Yeah, I got her tattooed on me.
Yeah? I actually I have her signature somewhere. I have to find it. I would like to have it tattooed on my arm. She was probably the nicest woman I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah, and I stand on my ground on that one. She would have given an arm for anybody. And she was a very religious. She had this whole relationship with God.
Really?
She would talk about God all the time. She taught me how to pray. I would sleep with her every night growing up because I didn't have my own room for some time. And before we close our eyes to sleep, she would take my hand and she would like start praying.
Oh, that's so precious. I love grandmas.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, my grandma, she was like my favorite person. I was devastated when she passed. It was so hard. But it's so funny. Like, do you ever smell people sometimes and just know that they're around?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
all
I
the
get
time.
whiffs of, like, my grandmother, her scent is roses. And so I'll smell roses sometimes. And I'm like, oh, she's here.
Yeah, my grandma didn't use anything like that. She didn't have a scent.
No.
She never... She lost her husband. And, I think... I'm not sure how old she was when he passed. Maybe 60, and she just started wearing black for the rest of her life.
Oh, she did.
She never found anyone else after that. It was the love of her life, and she never wore makeup. She always wore this little black scarf over her hair, like, and she would knit all day. It's like,
gosh, yeah, like when
typical Portuguese grandma.
It's so cute. Yeah, like when my grandma passed, my grandpa had said, he's like, I lost my best friend, and he learned to cook eggs. So he learned to cook. He learned to do his laundry when she passed away. he also, this is before Pinterest like was trending with like, do you remember the mason jar salads?
Yeah.
So he was like, huh, I had this idea. And he like had all of these mason jars and he like had his salads prepped in the mason jars.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, look, you just shake it up
Oh,
and you could just
wow.
put it in your bowl.
That's a good idea.
And he started that before it was like a huge Pinterest
Uh-huh.
thing. I'm like, huh, you're ahead of the curve. Look at you, little genius. He was cool. He passed last year and he's the reason why I love coffee so much. That was like our thing. We would always go and get a coffee together. I'd sit, like when I'd go visit, I'd sit with him and the old guys and just listen to their
Yeah.
banter, all about their politics. They'd come from all walks of life. You have right wing, left wing. And I love that, like the older generation, well, you know, with my grandpa and stuff, they could sit together and just like have open conversations
Yeah.
without judgment or hate and over coffee.
Uh-huh.
And so it was actually weird. Like, it was kind of trippy. The day he passed away, I went and got a coffee. And I'm grabbing my coffee, and the barista had written on the lid with a little heart, it says, "Have a good day." And I was like, that's weird. She's never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I walk out, my cousin's like, hey, can you call me? And I'm looking at my coffee, and I'm like, yeah, give me a second. And I call, and she's like, Grandpa passed. And the crazier thing is, I'll even back to being intuitive. The Friday before he passed away, I had a dream and my grandpa came to me. He's like, I'm ready to go.
Oh.
So I knew. And I told my friend Bree, my other friend Bree, I was like, my grandpa came to me and he's ready. And then 3 days later, he passed. So when she messaged me, I knew, but it was a beautiful thing. He was 94,
Yeah.
you know.
Lived a
So
long
it
life.
was sad, but it was also like he's watched all of these generations but that was his little note on the lid.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. 'Cause she had never written anything like that. I'm like, that was my grandpa's little message. Like, have a good day.
My grandma passed on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was even more symbolical. My family knew how good of a woman she was. And so it all made sense. She passed on Christmas Day, but it was so sad because she was the glue that held, because she had 3 daughters,
Yeah.
2 aunts, my mom. She was the glue that held us together.
Really?
And since then, after she passed, the family started slowly breaking apart, distancing each other because she was the glue. You know, we would gather around because she was the thing that we all had in common. And so they started doing their own thing together alone, and we didn't gather together anymore over the years. And then now it's like my cousins are, sorry, some of them are practically strangers today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't kept up. So
That's one thing, like my cousins in Oregon, after my grandpa passed, like I think were worried that we would go our separate ways, but we still message each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and then with my sister's memorial coming up, you know, my mom, it was supposed to be very small and intimate, and she has invited everybody. So I think it's going to be more than my dad anticipated. It'll be fine. We'll have a beautiful time. So I'm excited. It feels like it's time. And even like the crazy thing about that is the reason why we're doing the memorial is I had a dream about my sister, and she was like beautiful. She had her beautiful curly dark hair, and we were by the ocean. So my dad messages me. He's like, I had a dream about Des, and we were by the ocean. I'm like, get out. I'm like, I did too. Crazy.
that means something.
And my dad said that. He's like, you know what that means? I'm like, yep. So I'm like, it's time, whether it doesn't matter how busy we are. I'm like, I had to take time off work, and, you know, even like her best friends coming and best friends, the whole family, even Lyric's dad. And so we're doing that in a couple weeks, and it feels right this time. We're going to spread her ashes. You know.
Right. Definitely.
It feels good. Like, it'll be sad, you know, but it's time. And set her free. My mom's having a hard time with it.
Make peace with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to conclude the podcast today, you know what? I don't really like how the camera is not centered.
I know when we do another one, we'll have to center. I did notice that, but I was like, we already had a mic blooper. So
To conclude this session, which was probably one of our most, I don't know, deepest.
I think this is one of our.
Yeah. I was looking forward for this episode. I always wanted to talk about what I went through, and also hearing your story too.
We've been wanting to do this series, and I feel like it's kind of perfect timing to.
Yes, absolutely. Now I have a long day of work ahead of me.
So it's time for us to go. And I don't know how long this episode is, but we actually might just break this one up into 2 parts.
Yeah, depending how long it is.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any questions or anything you want to share with us, or anything that inspired you about our stories, anything you want to reflect on, please let us know. We would love to hear you out.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Just message us. I will say before we sign off is I was at the gym the other day and I'm doing my cardio. So like, like when you're doing cardio, you're kind of like zoning out. So I'm like spacing, and there's this gentleman that is on the treadmill. So I'm on the step mill and he's on the treadmill. So I was zoning out, just like looking like this. So he gets done with cardio and he comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm friends with Nelly."
Who is he?
And I watch your guys' podcast. I think, is it Albert?
Yes. Where did you see him?
At the 24.
Oh,
Just
he
last
works
week.
out at Lifetime where I
Okay.
work.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm friends with Nelly." He's like, "Keep up the good work, ladies." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like,
Oh, that's so sweet.
so he saw me in the zone. I'm just doing
I gave
my
him a
cardio.
shout out last time on my podcast.
But
Very
I see him, he like comments and like will comment back. But it's kind of cool like seeing people in person, and I have people coming up to us.
Right.
Who
He's
follow.
it's just going to happen more and more
It's
over
so
the time.
cool. Like,
Yeah, he's very sweet, very great supporter. And he listens to our podcast. So hi, Albert.
Hi. It was nice to meet you.
Nice
like
to meet-
come
nice
up
to-
anytime and say hi.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I was like, this is kind of awesome.
He was actually a follower of mine for a little while. And I knew he trained at Lifetime.
Okay.
And so I got hired at Lifetime. And so I knew I was eventually going to meet him. And so I met him like 2 weeks ago for the first time.
Okay, so I met him just like last week, and
So we're like about the same time.
and I don't know if it was his wife he was with or girlfriend, but they were both doing their cardio, and
Nice.
I'm like, I just like friendly faces. I'm like, hi. So
All right.
on that note, we hope everybody's having a great week, and
Have a great weekend.
yes, have a great weekend. Oh, the Arnold is this weekend. Are you going to be tuning in?
Yeah.
The Arnold this weekend?
Yes, it is this weekend, right?
Yeah. I hope we get to tune in.
We'll talk about it next
Yes.
week on the podcast.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well,
Bye, guys.
we'll see you again next time.